Good morning and welcome to Going to Work with Gena, which is an infomercial for STEM students. I am Dr. Gena Henderson, and this week we are talking about Gen Z and social media. So I have with me this morning my son, Zahir. I know since I'm Generation X, you're Generation Z. And I know that social media has basically taught you all everything that you know. What can you say the impact that social media has made on you, especially within this social injustice time frame that we're in right now?
I would say that for the most part, as far as the influence of social media goes as a whole, it has probably the biggest influence on kids younger than me, because I didn't necessarily grow up with having the phone in my hand to interact with other people, basically.
Right, because you had more of the technology, like the technology at your hands, like the computer or the video game.
It was the computer and the gaming consoles for sure.
Okay.
And we really didn't start using like video game consoles like when Dad bought me an Xbox.
Right.
We didn't start using Xbox Live until I was probably about 14, 15.
Mm-hmm.
So we really didn't have a mode of communication like that. And even in that event, I didn't have y'all pay for Xbox Live because I didn't want to pay for one.
Right.
And I'd go over to people's houses and we would play.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what we did.
Dealing with the social injustice, social unrest right now, what do you say is the greatest challenge?
The greatest challenge, I think, is clarity and understanding, because you only have a limited amount of characters, and that is not enough to convey a point. And if you're going to convey a point, you do have to be concise with it. And a lot of people are not very concise in their messages. I think most of the time they're using certain phrases and words that are not very indicative of what they want to really say. And I think those are buzzwords to an extent, but also they're, especially on social media where you're having certain psychological effects, go out and broadcast certain views, and you're hit with so much information at once. That has a very difficult psychological effect, especially on people who are just coming up in the world and starting to learn who they are in the world and find their position. So I think it's all about displaying a message that not only that you think is correct, but it has to be backed by not only evidence, but I think it has to be backed by certain experiences. So if we talk about social injustice, for example, right? I find myself frequently having to defend my position against people who not only do not know what they're talking about, but they make assumptions in the same vein as other people who definitely are not qualified for speaking about what they want to speak about. So to some extent, there is rhetoric being thrown around in a certain space, in a certain group of people who deliver a certain type of message that isn't necessarily true. And in fact, it's enforcing some of the same systemic things that I'm pretty sure all minorities have had to deal with. Especially as Black people, we have had to deal with so many different narratives thrown around about not only our physical appearance, but our mental state. There are plenty of studies going back to, I'm pretty sure, 1842 that involve some of the religious indoctrination of our people into Christianity, and how they use that image of Jesus as, the white savior, and that rhetoric is also used in white saviorism with, let's say, the radical left, and a lot of contention in leftism.
So let's say going forward,
yes,
how are you dealing with your friends, though? Bringing all of that.
I'm not going to lie to you. A lot of the people that I went to high school with, some of them were closeted racists, and not only could I sense that, but I called them out then, and again, when they had the audacity to say that all lives matter, I called them out now. And I have had to lose a few friends. And but am I afraid of that? No.
Right.
Because first off, we were not on the basis where I would talk to you every day.
Right.
You weren't really essential to my life.
Right.
So when you're peddling those certain type of things that don't necessarily encapsulate a message that has fact, that is contradictory to the actual message itself, all lives matter, and different things like that, you start to understand that the people who, are your friends, and this is for all of the people in my generation. The people who are necessarily your friends, who have these types of messages, aren't really your friends. I would say, if you are my friend, you believe, not necessarily believe, but you are willing to discuss these things with me, right? We're supposed to have a discourse, a very good discourse, a civil discourse. You're not going to shut down the conversation by saying one thing and then just moving on and completely dictating the arguments that way.
So social media has taught a lot of things, but you know, we have a lot of traditions within our family.
Yes.
So I would like to say, what tradition or what is that one thing that you've learned within our family that you think everyone should want or should have?
Well, I think one thing in our family is openness. That's one of the biggest things. We are not afraid to speak our mind. We are not afraid to say what's going on. And I think because we are black people and because we are not only a minority in this culture, but we are often underrepresented and frankly misquoted on a lot of things. I think that being open with our message, and again going back to social media, clarifying that this is where we stand and being open with our stance without fear of any criticism is definitely one of the things that people need to understand and be more forthright with. So I think that for no matter who you are, and no matter what skin color, what creed, what religion, you do have to be open with your views, and you have to stop playing the game where it's all about semantics. We all are, to a degree, talking about the same thing, but we are saying it in different ways. But we have to be open with each other, and we have to have open discussion and conversation.
All right, so we definitely had an open discussion this morning, so
Yes,
I want to thank you for going to work with Gena. If there's any infomercials that you missed, please don't hesitate to go to YouTube, Going to Work with Gena. Have a great day.